you've been calling glasses kind of the next platform for years.
Yeah.
But the original Ray-Ban Metas really took off with just audio and AI. What did you guys stumble on there?
So we have a few principles in building glasses. And the three principles that we talk about the most are they have to be great glasses first, right? So you have to think about, okay, for any of the, before you even get to any of the technology, if you're going to wear these on your face all the time, they need to be good looking, they need to be light, and these are, right? I think a lot of people who are designing technology, they make something that's kind of bulky and they add a bunch of cool functionality to it, and they're like, why don't people want to wear this? It's like, well, most of the day people aren't taking photos or something, right? Most of the day it's just there. And the magic of these is that they're good looking, comfortable glasses that you want to wear. And then you have them on your face. So when you do want to listen to music or call AI or whatever, it's available to do that. So good looking glasses first. The other big principle is that the technology needs to get out of the way, right? So I think a lot of people when they're designing technology, they have this impulse to kind of add a lot of flourishes and make it so that the thing that they've built is kind of center stage. And one of the things that I keep pushing back on with our team is, no, actually, look, especially if you're building glasses, it is extremely important that whatever technology you have, it is there when you want to use it, and then it gets out of the way, right? You don't want random stuff in your vision, right? It's like, I don't care how cool of an animation you made on the design team, right? It's like people, we want this to be super minimal, right? If message comes in, you see the message, it goes away when you don't want it. That, I think, the classic design just distilled those principles. So yeah, I think it was kind of a hit for those reasons. The third principle, for what it's worth, is take superintelligence seriously. So it's kind of a mantra internally that we have, which is this idea that AI is going to be the most important technology in our lives. And we want to make sure that AI is in service of people, not just like something that sits in data centers and like automates stuff. And so we designed these, even the early version, the first version of this, to be able to just have easy software updates to have improvements, like the conversation focus thing that we talked about. So that way you can get like, okay, now you have this great accessibility feature. You're in a loud place. You can turn up the volume on a person, right? It's like kind of crazy, but it's like, okay, so you build in the sensors first that you think that the AI is going to need over the next couple of years. And then you make it so as you get the software working, you can just update it. So that way you can bring the latest AI technology to people, make them smarter with the software update.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big fan. Personal question.
Yeah.
How far away do you think we are from these glasses being so good you just replace your phone?
So I think about it a little bit differently. I think about what is your main computing device. Right now, phones are your main computing device. It's my main computing device for sure. But I didn't get rid of my computer, right? I have my computer, but I just use it less. Even a lot of the time I'm even at my desk and my computer's right there. But if I want to go do something, I just take out my phone because that's like my primary thing that I do. So what I think is going to happen here is that I don't think we're going to get rid of our phones anytime soon. I just think our phone is going to stay in our pocket more or in our bag. And even very subtle things, like I don't know how many times a day I used to look at my phone to see what time it was. Now I don't do that when I have the glasses. You just tap quickly, the clock comes up, done. Right? It's like, okay, I don't need to take out my phone to look at the time. Okay, now like I don't need to take out my phone to look at messages, right? It's like, okay, now with these, the camera's great. But now with the viewfinder, I know like exactly what I'm capturing. So I think you just go kind of use case by use case, and all these things that I would have used to have taken out my phone for, I now don't. Mm-hmm. I think that's sort of the way it's going to go. But I would be surprised if we kind of get rid of our phones anytime in the next 5 years. I just think it's going to be less and less use.
Slowly using your phone less. Yeah, I mean, the GPS feature is another one, right? Instead of having to look at my phone constantly, I'm going to use this like all the time.
Yeah.
Just have it in my glasses and navigating me where I need to go, with lines translation even was useful.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I'm curious to see how other people are going to be using it. But I think another thing people are going to be really curious about is the metaverse. How much of the vision is still distilled in these products?
Well, I think we're getting closer to it, right? So the metaverse is obviously, it's a very visual experience of presence. There's some parts of it like stereo audio, which I mean, you can 3D audio, which you can get, that is great. But we're starting to get the display, and then the Orion prototype that we showed last year. It's a wider field of view. It'll be a more expensive product when it's ready, but I think you're basically going to get to, this is one where you can have a hologram, you can kind of have context. It's enough to kind of watch a video or have a message thread, but this product, especially because it's monocular, it's not putting 3D objects in the world, right? So there still are things around delivering this sense of presence, like you're there with another person, that I think are going to be really magical. And when we get the consumer version of Orion, you'll really be able to start doing that. So I think we're kind of inching our way there. But this is a big breakthrough. Having the first kind of high resolution display with the neural band. And it's going to be a good step for learning how that goes. But yeah, no, I think the vision is that all of the kind of immersive software around presence that we have for VR, we would like a version of that to run on glasses too.
I want to switch gears to the Vanguards.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun.
Really stylish. I love the design. I recreationally go on runs and cycle, so I'm going to be using them as well. How did you build these with athletes in mind?
Well, I think a lot of people on the team are pretty intense athletes. And some of it is, we just use the Ray-Bans. And, I can't tell you how many pairs of Ray-Bans I've fried taking them surfing. But it was worth it. But they're not water resistant. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, you're like, okay, we want something that's water resistant. The extra sound, the kind of power in the speakers, these are 6 decibels louder, is really valuable and helpful when you're doing loud things. So if you're cycling at 30 miles an hour and it's windy, the other day, a few weeks back, I was taking a call on a jet ski, and I could hear the person completely fine over the engine of the jet ski. And we have this advanced like noise reduction in the background. So we've designed these. It's got the microphone in the nose pad, which basically means that you could be in a wind tunnel and the other person on the other end of a phone call would not be able to hear any of the background noise. You just come in crystal clear. So I think stuff like that is awesome. Then, pairing it with, there's all this other stuff that I think you want for sports. The video stabilization is good. The pairing with Garmin and Strava, I think, is good. We put an LED in the corner, so you can have it light up when you're to give you a reminder if you're to make sure you stay on pace that you want or in your target heart rate zone. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things like that I think are going to be pretty neat for athletes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Why did you think it was important to design so many different glasses for different lifestyles, and how much broader do you really expect to go from here?
Well, I mean, I think people have different styles, right? So this isn't like a phone where everyone's going to be okay having the same thing and just like, okay, maybe I have a slightly different color case, or I like put a different sticker on my case and then I'm good. Like, I think people have different face shapes. They have different aesthetics. Like, people wear different kinds of clothes. I think this is like an important part of our identity and sense of style. And some of it is functional too. I mean, some of it is a little more lifestyle. Some of it is more active. And, part of this is some people prefer thinner frames. Some people prefer thicker frames. You will always be able to fit more technology in thicker frames. So as we get to more display, like more advanced holograms, it will always be a little bit thicker of a frame than what you can do for the thinner ones. So I think that there's a choice that people will make around, okay, like, do I prefer the aesthetics and the kind of the simplicity of the thinner ones, or do I like the aesthetics of the thick ones? Fortunately, kind of big glasses are in style, so that kind of works. So there's the whole spectrum. And then there's also the price point and affordability, right? And less technology you're always going to be able to offer for a more affordable price, and that's going to be great too, because we want to make it so that there's like more than 1 billion people. It's somewhere between 1 and 2 billion people in the world who have glasses for vision correction today, and I don't know. I think within whatever it is, 5 to 7 years, is there like any world where those aren't all replaced with AI glasses? And it feels to me like it's kind of like the iPhone came out and everyone had flip phones, and it's like just a matter of time before they're all smartphones, right? So I think that that's going to be the case with glasses too, but people have different glasses, and they want different glasses, and they want different glasses at different price points and styles. So our goal is to just work with a lot of iconic brands to do some great work.
So on the Vanguards, you mentioned the Garmin integration. I thought
Yeah.
this was fascinating
Yeah.
because this basically allows AI to kind of see your heart rate, pace, location, everything, kind of all hands free while you're running or cycling. How long do you think it will be before we have like a personalized coach that's there like proactively in your ear?
Yeah, I mean, it can do that a bit. So I think for running, for example, if you want to ask it what your heart rate is or what your pace is, it can answer. Now, I mean, I don't know how hard you run, but when I'm running like for performance, I don't really want to talk to something, right? It's like you're probably above that heart rate zone. But there are times when I'm like skiing really fast and I want to know how fast I'm going, because that's kind of fun. And, you're not necessarily out of breath doing that. So yeah, I mean, part of it is being able to talk to it, and it can give you the stats in real time. That's one of the reasons why we built the LED in, is we want to make it so that you just have a very simple visual indicator of, okay, am I on my kind of pace target? Am I on my heart rate target? But I don't know. You can kind of get a sense of like over time, it's probably going to be pretty good to have a display in those too.
Yeah, I mean the real-time coaching as well.
Yeah.
So like I guess for an example, if I'm running and I want to stay in zone 2, which is
Yeah.
below a certain heart rate, but I don't want to go too hard because I want to stay in this zone. I guess my question is, will I be able to have a coach that's telling me, oh, hey, slow down a little bit. You're a little too fast.
Yeah. That's the goal of the LED to start. And if
Gotcha.
you're trying to stay in zone 2, you probably can talk to it. Right, because I mean that's kind of the definition of zone 2, right? It's like you should be
It's
able
true.
to, right? So, I don't know if it's the definition, but it's a property
It's
of
a
zone
test.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you can basically you can ask it different stats, and it knows if you're connected to Garmin. Yeah.
So I know you've been training a lot. Have you like found any good use of it when you're training as like almost like a coach or?
Well, I take
Have
them surfing, and they don't break, which is nice.
There we go.
Yeah. So, because the Ray-Bans are good, but like I said before, I've fried a few pairs of those.
Okay. And they capture moments like in real time too, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the nice things about this is because the camera is centered, it's like really perfectly aligned. I mean, the image really in the video feels like it's coming exactly from your perspective. It's nice even when the camera's off to the side, but it's like these things about delivering a sense of presence. They kind of have this feeling where it's like when you get it to be perfect, it really feels like it clicks. And if you're like 2 degrees away, it's still pretty valuable, but it's not. But there's something about having it in the middle that I think is really quite compelling
Okay.
and wide field of view. Yeah.
I'm excited to try them out.
Yeah.